From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. Hello and a very happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I'm Jaime Hixson, soon to be joined by my dear friend on the phone. Well, as we try to wait for Hector, I just want to say thanks to Kenny Graham, who's on the other side of the glass. He actually rushed in here just to try and direct everything. So we're going to see if we can get Hector on the phone any moment. In the meantime, I figured I'd lead off with a little something about what's going on in the NFL. As you know, the Jets wound up playing hard, but still losing their 8th game this season. They're now 2-8 after a rather disappointing loss to the Dolphins. When you think about it, having Joe Flacco as the quarterback doesn't seem so far-fetched after all. He still proves that he could play. He's still got it. It's just a matter of him being in the right offense and the right situation. And right now, he's practically with the Jets as a tutor to both Zach Wilson and Mike White. So we're going to see if we can get Hector on the phone right now. Can you hear me, Hector?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
I can hear you.
Go ahead.
So, did you announce me still as the hardest, baddest, sexiest man on cable access TV?
No.
You know,
because that's not what you are.
I'm going to have a band of people protesting.
They have nothing to protest. They think you're a joke.
They think you're jealous.
No, they think you're a joke.
Do you know how many millions of fan mail that I get?
You don't get no stinking fan mail, man. Stop lying.
You're a very good host, but that you're jealous of greatness when you're upon them.
You know, you're an idiot.
So, you know, and speaking of greatness, how are them Jets doing?
They lost again.
By whose hand?
Miami's.
Wilson's hand or
Joe Flacco? Zach Wilson is still trying to recover from his injury.
And what about Mr. White?
He's trying to recover from his injury too.
And you got Joe Flacco, who went in there knowing full well that he was supposed to be vaccinated, and says, "I do not want it." There's no disclosure, and he finally came out with, "I'm not vaccinated." And again, the same thing with Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers was just totally disingenuous with what he did.
But what I'm trying to figure out is, if you got nothing, if you want your freak flag to, fly, then just say it. I'm not vaccinated. Why are you hiding it? Because if you
no
infect
rhyme or
your
reason
players,
for this to be happening.
Huh?
There's no rhyme or reason for this to be happening.
I know in New York you're supposed to have it by mandate. That's how come Kyrie Irving is still out. Has he done anything yet that you know of?
Well, he's still not with the team. My guess is that he's probably doing some private workouts so he could stay in shape for when he does, if he does return.
Because he could play away games.
This is true.
But, again, well, I'm not talking about the Nets. I'll get into that later. But what I'm saying about Joe Flacco is, and most of the players, if you're not vaccinated, and I could understand why people don't want to say I'm not vaccinated, because then they get the pressure of all the other people. There'll be the war of you should get vaccinated, you shouldn't get vaccinated, or don't come near me, or whatever. But God forbid there's an outbreak amongst your team. Forget yourself for a moment. Think of other people.
Right.
I don't understand that. But how did Mr. Flacco do anyway?
He wasn't terrible. In fact, he threw for a touchdown. But other than that, the most he could try and drum up was 17 points. I think, to be quite honest with you, this was a game where the Dolphins were the better team. Whereas the Jets,
they were the better team, or were the Jets that bad?
No, the Dolphins were the better team. The Jets didn't play terribly.
Because you have Michael Carter out for 2 to 3 weeks.
That's going to be a really bad loss in manpower for the Jets because he was starting to emerge as the guy to take all the carries.
And then you have Elijah Moore.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And you have a lot of other injuries that you have on the Jets.
And also a lot of rookies that the Jets are playing.
Well, they have. I mean, you'd want to play the rookies because they have to prove themselves, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what their the age is, what the average age is. Like with the Knicks, you know, it's between 21 to, let's say, 27.
Mm-hmm.
That's the average age, I think, or the average age is from 21 to 26. And everybody else is, you got 35-year-olds, 30-year-olds, and so on. But the average age, what's the average age on that team, off the top of your head?
My guess would be 26.
Okay, so from 18 to 26, you have a lot of those people because of the draft. And a lot of them have been out because of the injuries.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just wondering, what do you take out of the season?
Not much.
If there's a light at the end of the tunnel,
mm-hmm.
What do you take out of the season so far?
Well, one thing that we learned is that Michael Carter has the chance to be an every down back in the future for the Jets. I mean, all he's done is bust his butt trying to get carries and ground out some yardage. Another thing that I take out of this, Joe Flacco can still play. Whether it's with the Jets or somebody else, he can still play. He's a wily veteran who has a championship ring with the Ravens. So I think he would make a great tutor for the duo of Zach Wilson and Mike White, or some other duo with another team in case the Jets don't bring him back next year. A third thing that I could probably take away, defense. I mean, the numbers really didn't show, but the Jets' defense had their moments. Let's put it that way. A fourth thing that I could probably take away from this is special teams are critical. If you don't execute, or if you miss a kick or butcher a kick, that's going to be a major difference. Of course, that's not to say that the Jets were going to win if the kid had made both of his field goals, but still, special teams are a major, major, major factor in the game. So what do you take out of it?
I take out of it as whoever they drafted, you hope and pray that they play well, and that whatever happens next year, you hope that there's not that many injuries, because all the players that you drafted from this year who were out because of injuries, you have to figure out are they going to come back 100% next year? And you hope it was just a freak of accident that it just happened, that they were out for the year. That hopefully that won't happen again next year.
Mm-hmm.
You hope that Zach Wilson is your quarterback of the future, or for those people that like Mike White. And I think they should sign all three of them and be done with it, just for security reasons alone.
Sounds like a plan.
Because I'm pretty sure that if Mike White had a really good game, let's say 2 more times or 3 more times, he would get looked upon next year. I don't know, as a starting quarterback, maybe, but he would get more money than he would this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking at the updated NFL draft order.
Yeah.
And I see here that 0-9 and 1 tied.
That's Detroit.
The New York Jets would be 2 wins, 8 losses. Jacksonville with the same, 2-8. Houston 2-8. New York Jets via Seattle 3-7. New York Giants via Chicago 3-7. So the Jets would get the 5th pick from Seattle. The Giants would get the 6th pick from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And the 7th pick would be the Giants. And the Phillies would be number 8, getting the pick from Miami.
You mean the
and
Eagles?
Atlanta and Washington, the top 10, if they had the draft right now, with the records that they have right now. Now, that being said, since you can't see all the players that they had, with all the injuries that they had this year,
mm-hmm.
who's coming up in the draft that you've seen? That if the Jets were number 2 on the pick, who should they get at number 2?
Who should they get at number 2? That's a good question.
At number 5, if it stayed the way it is, just like I just said it.
Well,
would you suggest another quarterback to back up Zach Wilson? And then let go of Mike White and Joe Flacco?
Well, let's put it that way. I would see maybe, if you want to talk quarterback on the Jets or the Giants, maybe Bryce Young from Alabama, maybe C.J. Stroud from Ohio State, Kenny Walker III, although Kenny Walker III is a running back. I'm not sure if the Jets would go that route since Michael Carter's been playing so well.
Well, do they need a running back?
Kinda, yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong with having a lot of guys on the depth chart at running back.
Okay.
Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh, that is.
And he's what?
Another quarterback.
Another quarterback. Okay, so you would draft another quarterback at number 2?
Maybe not at number 2, because there's still a whole bunch of areas that the Jets have to address first. Besides, I think that they believe enough in Zach Wilson to make him the man for next season.
Right. But as your backup quarterback, that's what I would do. I would get if I had the opportunity. I mean, I know. Let's say there was a running back that it was a surefire
Mm-hmm.
that you knew that he was going to work out really, really well, that's the guy you go for.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm
Even
still
though
worried
there's
about.
no surefires.
Yeah, I'm still worried about the Jets' offensive line, though, because
Are you worried about it because of all the people that have been injured?
no, I'm worried about their execution.
Oh, okay.
You know, putting together a simple block of a defensive lineman or
Well,
linemen.
remember didn't they draft about 3 or did they draft 2 offensive linemen that have been injured for the year? Or was that on defense? I'm thinking of defense.
It probably would. That's what I think, anyway.
Because just to answer your question about the Jets, I hope to take out of this year that whoever is the GM, I don't know if he should get fired, but all I know is that they have to pick up that it guy, whether it's by draft, by trade, or by free agency. They have to pick up that it guy.
Yeah.
They have to pick up that name because they're not doing it right now.
Here's a name for you, Evan Neal. And he just so happens to be an offensive lineman. And that is one of the many needs that the Jets have got to try and improve on.
Because even the bad teams sign big-name players.
Mm-hmm.
They just get hurt.
Yeah.
But, you know, Joe Flacco, to me, is probably the last big-name player that you can actually say that they've had.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has won a Super Bowl, and he is an experienced quarterback, and he can still play the damn game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the GM, like I keep on talking about Davian Bell, but I think think about it. Do you think he would have worked out? Forget what he did. Do you think he would have worked out with this offense?
To be honest with you, I think it's a little too late to try and play what if, because...
No, think about it. I think he would have carried the ball over 1,000 yards.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
And he was your it guy.
Mm-hmm.
If they would have used him as the it guy, I'm just saying that they have to sign at least 1 or 2 big name players. They have to sign them. And then hope for the best, expect the worst, and pray that they don't get hurt. And hopefully they'll find a miracle in the draft picks that they receive and the draft picks that they have this year that came out okay for next year.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know, if you look at their record, they're bad. But if you look at individually what they've done, it may not be as bad as you think, especially how many draft picks that they've picked up. And like I said, they were under the salary cap last year. They were able to pick up names and so on. And I know certain people wanted too much. I get that too. But pick up someone. Pick up someone with a name. Who did they try to go after? Do you remember?
Who did the Jets try to go after?
Yeah, the Jets or the Giants. Who did they try?
To be honest, I don't really remember.
Exactly. If you don't remember it, that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. But I'm just saying there weren't that many players that they. I'm sure if you throw enough money to someone, they'll play here.
Mm-hmm.
But it all depends how much money are you willing to pay for that one player, and then not be able to plug up the other places that you need for those positions. And what this GM did or tried to do was get average to above average players to try to play for the team. And they probably, I think, for 2 years, 2-year contracts.
Mm-hmm.
This is the GM's team to build it in his image. If he doesn't get that it guy next year, and the people that they draft, they don't do something next year, he should be gone.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Well, as far as Joe Douglas is concerned, and Joe Douglas is the Jets general manager, just for the record.
I'm talking to GM. I'm not talking about the coach right now. I'm talking about just the GM.
Just the GM?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Woody Johnson has more patience than we think, because
yeah, he's always been one of those people that'll hang on to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot what I used to call him, but he's one of those people that'll hang on to him until the cows come home. But what would you do?
Well, it's painfully obvious that this franchise has not gone anywhere with him as the GM. So even in spite of Mr. Johnson's patience with him, I would fire the guy.
Right.
If I were Woody Johnson, I would fire the guy and go after anybody who knows what they're doing. I mean, it doesn't have to be a young guy. You could get someone with experience.
Who is that person out there that they can get that would be available to them?
Let me find out.
Off the top of your head, because the Giants are in a similar situation. Did the Giants win? I'll ask
They're
you
playing
that
tonight.
question. They're playing tonight. And they're playing who?
Tampa.
And they're going to win?
They have a chance to win because Tom Brady has been in a tiny bit of a slump lately.
Uh-oh. They'll talk. They're going to talk about his age soon. Oh, how he doesn't have it no more. How Tom terrific. Even though that was Tom Seaver. But how he doesn't have it no more. All I'm saying is the same thing with the Giants. Do you keep the quarterback and do you keep the GM, or do you draft another quarterback next year and have both of them compete and get rid of your GM?
First off, Dave Gettleman has to go. He has been lousy with his draft picks. Some of his free agent signings have been okay, but in order to be competitive, you have to draft well and you have to pick your free agents with a little bit of smarts, if you know what I mean. Otherwise, you're going nowhere. Now, as far as Daniel Jones is concerned, you can't give up on the kid. I mean, he has
I'm not saying give up on him. I'm not saying give up on him. I'm just saying draft another. I mean, if you can draft another high quality quarterback and go, okay, next year you're competing for it. Because remember, look what happened to the Jets quarterback this year. They lost 2 quarterbacks because of injury.
Yeah, but you can't bring in the Jets into this because the Jets' problem has been overall health and
that's true.
Overall health and also the dearth of players that they have.
Yeah.
As far as the Giants are concerned, I still say that Daniel Jones is the guy for them. Now, what they need to do is draft well offensively so they can support the kid. Get a franchise wide receiver. Please do something about that offensive line because they're still problematic.
Well, with the Jets too. If you compare both teams, that both of them are having the same issue.
And hope that Saquon Barkley can stay healthy for 17 games. Which reminds me, Barkley's going to play tonight. I'm not sure if he's going to be starting, but he is going to play tonight.
At least I give the Giants credit with that when he's on the field, that's your it guy.
Mm-hmm.
At least they have that it guy. Secondly, Daniel Jones, in football terms, because if I had to go up against Daniel Jones as quarterback, he would destroy me. But in football, is he an average quarterback or an above average quarterback?
Pretty average for the moment. I mean, he has his moments, but other than that, he's very, very average.
Because an above average quarterback, I'm just going to throw this guy's name out because we just mentioned Tom Brady. He's an above average quarterback because he makes the players around him, the receivers, really good.
He's more than just above average. He's still great.
No, but do you understand what I'm saying? When you get a quarterback like that, he makes your players really good. What does Daniel Jones do when he gets the players around him? He's not that good.
Nope.
So if you're
actually, he's not that terrible, but he's not that great either.
Right. He's an average quarterback. So if he had, let's say, a number one, he got Saquon Barkley, and he needs a number one wide receiver.
Yeah.
Do you really think that would make him that would make a difference?
Honestly, I really think so. If he gets that number one guy, I think Jones would be able to flourish a little bit. And again, pray for a healthy Saquon Barkley.
Right. Oh, and is he living to your expectations? Because we talked about how many passes he has to throw and how many yards he has to throw. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And has he lived up to your standards the way you explained it about averaging and how much yardage he has to do and all that? He hasn't done that. He hasn't achieved your goal that I could remember.
Well, in his 3 wins, he's been pretty good. But in his 6 losses, 3 of which should have been wins, if I might add. In his 6 losses, there have been moments where his offensive line didn't really help him.
Offensive line didn't help them because they couldn't hold anybody back.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, but the question still stands, which is, I forgot which is, we said that at the end of the year he should have at least, what was it? on an average of yardage. I forgot what number you picked, and I forgot what number I picked, but we said that if he doesn't achieve a certain number, win or lose, is how much yardage he throws for, how many does he complete, and everything else that he does. And he's in his, third year of his contract?
Yep.
Oh, boy. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, if like I said, if there is, if you're getting 2 picks, unless those top 10 picks were great picks, I'd still get another quarterback and let them fight for it and hope for the best and expect the worst. Stay here.
See, if you do that, then that's going to mess with Daniel Jones's head, saying that's going to prove that he may think that his job security is not going to be that great. But
sometimes you need that kick in the rear end too. To say, okay, I got it. I mean, I know that he knows that he has to step up his game. But maybe that sense of urgency will really kick in and go, okay, I have to survive before someone kills me or I drown or something of that nature. That's when he'll start playing better because remember, you have the second quarterback, let's say the new draftee, and say, you know what, you're going to sit out for a year or two, and you're going to be tutored by Daniel Jones. Let's say you sit out for a year, like they used to do, and then you play when you can, and that's it. And then if he gets hurt and the other guy flourishes, then you have 2 quarterbacks that are real good. Don't you want that type of competition where at least you have 2 good quarterbacks that are on your team? That you can say, okay, well, if I get, trade him to get some other players. But, if, again, he hasn't, what has he proven?
Well, there was that time.
I'm sorry, but not that it's not his fault. It is his fault, and it's not his fault because you have the GM who hasn't done anything for him.
Do we really have to mention Dave Gettleman again?
Well, he's part of the problem, and he's part of the problem. Think about it.
He sure is part of the problem.
Do you want to blame the coach?
No, Joe Judge has busted his butt trying to get the Giants to be at least competitive.
He's been on the team for 2 years?
This is his second year, yeah.
Second year, okay. And Daniel Jones has been on that team for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Gettleman, God knows how he keeps his job. It's time for a change. And then hopefully you'll pick it right. I mean, just because you have a change, that doesn't mean that it's going to be good. Because look at the way the Jets' revolving door goes around.
Yeah. And let me correct myself. This is Daniel Jones' 3rd season. He was drafted in 2019.
Right. And he hasn't lived up to the expectations.
If you really want to get a quarterback to give Jones a run for his money, why don't you just get a veteran quarterback? Sign him on the cheap, and if anything happens to Jones, bring him in. You've got that experience factor right there, and let's see what he has.
No, you're right about that. But how many older quarterbacks are out there that are really, really better than Daniel Jones?
Andy Dalton's better than Daniel Jones. He's been around quite a few years. I think this is his 11th season.
How many? How many? There aren't that many out there. You know?
Mm-hmm.
There aren't that many out there that, like a Joe Flacco, the guy that you sent, Cam Newton, that came back. There aren't that many quarterbacks out there. I mean, they can spot you for a couple of games and even take you to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But after that, God knows what happens the year afterwards. You know, you need to think about it. I look at it, if you draft a new quarterback, he sits down for a year or two, he's tutored, he does everything right, and if Daniel Jones messes up or he gets hurt, at least you have that fresh guy to come in. And if he flourishes, then you have the competition of two quarterbacks going at it, like there was right now with Michael White and
Zach Wilson,
the other Jets quarterback. They were trying to do a quarterback concert, you know.
Yeah,
what do you do
when the media is for, drumming up controversies?
Huh?
That's what the media is for, drumming up controversies.
Yeah, I mean, you don't do that, but in a sense, it's true, though, a little bit, because you think about it. If you have two good quarterbacks, that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You try, he hasn't done anything in 3 years, but look who you have as the GM, and look at your players. They're above average players to the average Joe like ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But because these are people that are extraordinary athletes. But in NFL terms, some of them are just average players. And what do you see on the Giants and Jets? Do you see average players or above average players?
Some of the rookies that the Jets have are pretty promising.
Right.
As for the
so
Giants,
we got something to look for if they don't get hurt next year. Okay.
As for the Giants, we know the old saying when it comes to sports and how teams are, whether they're good or bad. You are what your record says you are. Well, the record says the Giants are a 3-6 team, but when you think about it, they should be 6-3.
Right.
I think they self-destructed in the Washington game with that penalty.
Right.
Atlanta got a last-second field goal, and then there was the other game where the Giants were really close.
Right. And how did the rest of the league do? How did Dallas and all them
losing
do?
to Kansas City was a major disappointment. Now, what were you saying?
How did the rest of the teams do this week?
Well, let's find that out right now. First off, the Patriots won again. So now, with Buffalo losing yesterday really badly to Indianapolis, the Patriots now have the AFC's Eastern Division lead. And I kept saying to myself, the Patriots are not that bad. All they needed was one player who could really keep his team in games, and that's Mac Jones. Mac Jones, the quarterback, the rookie quarterback, I say. And all he's done is lead them to a 7-4 record. And this is probably the best job of coaching that Bill Belichick has ever done, save for all of his Super Bowl seasons. So the Patriots won over the Falcons. Washington won over Carolina. Baltimore won over Chicago. Philadelphia's got something to play for. They wound up outscoring New Orleans. And this just goes to show you, whereas one team is able to do reasonably well with their rookie quarterback, the Saints have not been the same since Drew Brees retired. The Saints are literally a 500 club. They're 5-5. The Dolphins won. I think their future is a little bit better than people make it out to be. I mentioned the Indy score. They won by 26 over Buffalo. Cleveland held on to beat Detroit. The Lions are now the worst team in the entire league. 9 losses and a tie in 10 games so far. And the Lions are going to be hosting the Bears on Thanksgiving afternoon. So, yeah. I see the 49ers blew out the Jaguars. The Niners are a 500 team now. The biggest upset of the whole weekend was seeing Houston go into Nashville to beat Tennessee. And that was with Tyrod Taylor as their quarterback.
Why was that an upset?
Because right now, the Titans are the best team in the AFC. Right now, they have the number 1 seed for the AFC portion of the playoffs. Not only that, but they actually did something to stop the play of Tennessee's quarterback. Here's another game, which was a minor upset. Vikings beating the Packers by a field goal. They got a field goal right at the last play of the game. And then there was the Bengals beating the Raiders. The Raiders are going to play on Thanksgiving Day, too. They're playing the Cowboys.
Well, the boys always play on Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the Cowboys, they lost to the Chiefs yesterday. That was a really crucial win for the Chiefs because they want to be able to prove that they're still the guys in the AFC. Then there was the Cardinals beating the Seahawks. I think Seattle's on a state of decline right now. They now have a 3-game losing streak. And finally, there was the Chargers beating the Steelers last night. And the Chargers are doing pretty well. The one constant for them has been their quarterback, Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's been one of the best players that they have, if not the best player. And of course, tonight is Giants and Buccaneers.
I'm looking forward to one day for us to say, the Jets have at least some of the best players on the Jets and some of the best players in the Giants organization.
I want to see that more than anything.
Wow.
For once, I want to be able to see the Giants and the Jets play Sunday night football, not necessarily against each other, but against
games.
What's that?
Meaningful games.
Yeah, we want to see them play meaningful games. Although I wouldn't use that term to describe the Giants and the Jets' chances. I want to see them compete for a division title and not just make it as a wild card. Although,
did Odell Beckham Jr. sign yet with anybody?
Yeah, he's a Raider now.
Las Vegas Raider?
Mm-hmm.
Did he say why he wanted to go on that team?
Never said a word.
Oh, damn. With all the teams to pick, and he could have gone, I probably would have picked Tom Brady, but maybe he wanted to be the man, and that's it. But who knows? But I tell you, and switching.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me correct myself. Okay. Odell Beckham Jr. actually signed with the Rams, not the Raiders.
Rams. Why did he sign with the Rams?
Because he wanted to go somewhere where he could compete for a championship.
And the Rams are competing for a championship this year?
Yes, they are. In fact, they're competing with the Arizona Cardinals for the NFC Western Division lead.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yep.
Speaking of that, how are the Yankees and Mets holding out? Are they doing the wishful thinking on let's get this person, let's trade? Because they traded Tyler Wade.
Yeah, they sent him to the Angels.
For cash money and a player to be named later, even though he was a utility guy who could pitch too. What's going on with them, in your opinion? And, A-Rod.
Yeah, he's up for induction into the Hall of Fame. It's his first try, and so is David Ortiz.
Poppy. You think they'll make it?
David Ortiz will definitely make the Hall of Fame someday.
First try or no?
On the first ballot, he's going to the Hall of Fame. That's a given. Alex Rodriguez, he's very, very iffy because there's still the issue of his checkered past that the media has to try and get through.
The Aroids era?
Yeah, the Aroid.
Pettit, too.
Andy Pettit's a little borderline for me. I mean, let's see. If I'm not mistaken, I think he won about 240 games in his career.
Yeah, but the bar has been lowered. It hasn't been high in a very long time. The bar has been lowered because the game has changed a little bit more.
He was the consummate big game pitcher. If you wanted if you were in the playoffs and you couldn't figure out who to decide on a starting pitcher for a big game, Andy Pettit would volunteer. And he usually came through very well.
That's true. And then when Roger Clemens came, he had that steroid issue, which he was found not guilty of.
Mm-hmm.
And he was always pleasant with people, so...
Yeah. At least he apologized for what happened.
Right. So hopefully those guys will get in. And they'll probably go... Well, A-Rod, he'll probably go down as a Yankee. Not a... What was he before? A Mariner?
Yeah, a Seattle Mariner and a Texas Ranger.
Right. But
by the way, Roger Clemens is in last year of eligibility. So is Barry Bonds.
And I don't think they don't have a shot because they're not going to forgive Barry Bonds and Clemens maybe, but Bonds no. I don't think they'll forgive Bonds.
The media certainly won't.
Yeah.
Although he does have...
That's the thing, too, because the media always has a hold on you. If you didn't treat them right, if you said something to them badly, we'll get you later. They'll have vendetta against you instead of just going by the numbers or what he did for the team.
Mm-hmm.
Forgetting personal thing. If you go by numbers, how he helped the team out, what he did for the team, if his numbers don't show it, let's say, but he lifted the team, he did a lot for the team that you can't see, that's what they should go by. Not that he insulted me, he wasn't good to the media, this and that, the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because who was it? It was Barry Bonds and McGuire and Sammy Sosa.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think they'll ever forgive those guys? If you forgive one, you got to forgive all.
Honestly, I just don't see it. Because of their ties to the steroid era, it's going to be a little bit difficult for the media to try and forgive their past transgressions.
How about Clemens?
I don't see it at all. I don't think he gets in.
Even though he does stats put him over?
Probably.
Because,
I mean, he is a 300-game winner, and he also won a couple of championships.
They didn't find him with the steroids. That's when he came out of retirement.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, if they're going to go before the steroid era, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he'll go in.
Right.
But if McGuire goes to, if McGuire goes in, you got to let Barry Bonds and so forth, because then they'll say racial inequality.
Mm-hmm.
But where do the Yankees stand in your opinion? Because I've read a couple of articles and the same people come up. Where do you think they'll stand?
In regards to?
Getting people, getting rid of people, because they're going after shortstop, the top 5 shortstops, who are they paying for?
Well, they've already gotten started with their little cleaning up, if you know what I mean. You mentioned that Tyler Wade got traded. Also, Clint Frazier and Rougned Odor also got designated for assignment, so they're not going to be back.
They got waived. They're in waive procedures. If nobody picks them up, the Yankees can't pick them up on the cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me. Is there any hope for the New York Yankees to sign Judge again?
Well, there were some talks, I think, between Judge and Yankee reps. So even though it's kind of early, I would say the Yankees giving him a more than fair deal.
Do you see them getting one of the top 5 shortstops or the top 2 first basemen? The guy from Atlanta, because Houston's trying to really going after him hard, or I think it was the Oakland. Oakland's trying to go after him hard. The Yankees, I think, are trying to go after him. Who do you go after? I mean, if Gil Steinbrenner was here, he would try to go after anybody he can get. But these are the new Yankees.
That's a really good question. Let's see.
Do you think that they'll sign one of the top 5 shortstops?
Well, I'm seeing that Marcus Semien of the Blue Jays is available. Whether they're going to get him or not, I'm not really sure.
Because they're talking about the top 5 shortstops, and if, again, depending upon how much money they cost, who knows? Because if they can get, let's say, the number 5 shortstop out of the top 5 that they keep on rehashing over and over again, and they get that first baseman from the Atlanta Braves,
well,
even though he wants to stay in Atlanta to get paid. Imagine getting those 2 bats and then some pitching.
Trevor Story, Carlos Correa, Corey Seager, Javier Baez, Trey Turner, Tim Anderson of the White Sox. Those right now would be among the best of the best at shortstop.
Exactly. Those are the top 5. Those are the same people that you always hear over and over again. And then they're talking about Gabriel Torres, leaving him at second, not at short anymore, or possibly trading him.
You mean Gleyber Torres?
Gabriel Torres, yeah, but might as well leave him there, give him one more year, and let him play his position.
I think the Yankee fans have had their fill of Torres at shortstop. Now, I think
So
moving
let
him to
him
second
play
base would be one thing.
He gave you the big pop. He really did well when he was playing at second.
Yep. I would move him to second base, though.
Right.
And as far as getting a shortstop,
who's their best chances of them getting one of the top five? Who do you think their best chances are?
Trevor Story's name was being mentioned, but all of a sudden the Yankees went sour on the kid.
Right. Okay. So
Francisco Lindor?
Out of the ones that, who's the best possible bet out of the people that you mentioned?
Right now, as far as at the plate and on the defensive side of the diamond, I would say it's Trevor Story.
Why would you say he's the best possible one?
For one, he's a great contact hitter. Superb defensive shortstop. Very rarely makes any mistakes at short. The only thing I worry about, though, is if he gets out of Denver, where a lot of his numbers were really inflated from playing so many years at Coors Field, will he have the same numbers playing in a place where the weather is a little bit more tolerable,
dense.
And also
dense
where he's not going to...
The air is higher over there.
And also where there's no altitude.
And what about pitching? Where do you see the Yankees with the pitching? Because the Mets, they have their own issues.
Yep.
But they finally found the GM. You said it last week.
For the record, we have about a minute and a half to play with.
Well, you predicted that the GM would be the guy from the California Angels,
Billy Epler.
You predict you. There is problems with Tom Thibodeau in scoring. He's got to change that up.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben Simmons is still on the Sixers for mental health reasons, but they want to trade him, then they don't.
Something's got to be done with the kid, whether they welcome him back to the roster or whether they trade him or not. Something's got to be done. They can't be just sitting on their hands and doing nothing. We're talking about a kid's livelihood.
That I'm surprised they did that. But have a Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yes, sir. Thanks again to Kenny on the other side of the glass, and thanks to you guys for watching at home. Hector, thank you once again for joining us.
You're welcome. Next time, announce me.
No. For everyone here, I'm Jamie.
I'm Hector.
We hope you have the most awesome Thanksgiving of your life.
I know I will. I'm going to have all the breakfasts in the world. I'm going to be eating a lot.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.